This is Open Door with Vince Robinson. In-depth conversations with people who are making a difference in the lives of others here and around the world. Culture is at the heart of who you are. Know your culture, find yourself on Open Door with Vince Robinson.
Grand dawning, great rising, Cleveland, Ohio, and the rest of the planet. Welcome to another edition of Open Door with Vince Robinson. My guest this morning is an artist friend of mine. We go back quite a few years. He's a phenomenal artist and he's a phenomenal person. He goes by the name of Sky Davison. And, you know, many of the folks that I interview on this show are from Cleveland, but I'm not going to make that assumption about him. So we'll talk about his life. We'll talk about his art, and we'll talk about a few other things that are related to this person who just has a gift when it comes to the pen, the paintbrush. He also does tattoos as well. So I guess you use needles too, huh? You do quite a few things, and I'm happy to have you aboard today. First, tell us, how did you end up being Sky Davison?
Well, I was 14 and I saw the movie Beat Street. I came home excited, told my mom, I said, Mom, I want to be a graffiti artist. She didn't pay any attention to me. She was on the phone. I had three names chosen: Red Wing, Horizon, and Skyline. And I asked her which one she liked. Of course, she didn't pay me no mind. I ended up sticking with Skyline because as a kid, I worked at McGregor Nursing Home over there on Terrace in Lee Road. And there was an open field with trees. And I would sit there by myself and draw sometimes. And in the fall and spring, when the leaves were off the tree, you could see all the way downtown. You could see the skyline. So that's where I thought of the name Horizon and Skyline. Red Wing was because I was good at football and I could catch, like I had wings on my feet. But that one didn't really apply. But Skyline seemed to have a nice ring to it. So I told my mom, I'm a graffiti artist. The next morning, I had done my paper route. I had a paper route. And the papers would come the night before. So sometimes I would do them the night they came instead of in the morning. So that's what I did. Did my paper, did all my deliveries that night. My mom didn't realize, she didn't pay me no attention. I was the only child. So she didn't realize I had done my route already. So when I woke up early to seemingly do it, she was asleep. But I had a couple newspapers in my bag, and behind the papers I had a bunch of spray cans. So I rode down to the Hayden bus garage, the RTA bus garage back in the day, on Windermere. That whole long wall was clean. And I put up the biggest piece I could. It was two characters and my name, Skyline. And the buses started to come around 5 or 6. And every time a bus would come out, I had to run and hide. And then I realized, I said, well, wait a minute. They're not going to stop to bother me. They got routes to run. So I went on painting. I did finish the painting, the piece, and I went and got my bike, got my bag, and got on the bike. Little did I know they had radioed in to security. So security was already on to somebody painting on the wall. So when they pulled up, they saw me. They said, hey, what are you doing? I said, delivering papers. And said, oh, okay. And I reached in my bag to offer them one, and they opened the doors, pulled guns, and said, don't move. And they checked my bag, saw the spray cans. They was like, oh, we didn't caught Picasso. They put me in the back of the squad car. The spray can started going off in the bag, all on the seat. I'm trying to move around like, hey, the can's going off. They laughing. They took me, put me in jail, East Cleveland jail. The secretaries and everything had my peace book, which is a no-no. You never go out piecing with your peace book. You either have it in your head or you have it on a piece of scrap paper. Because if you get apprehended and they take your peace book, then they know all your styles. Not to mention you lose your peace book. So that was my first book that was lost. My very first book and the very first time I've been caught. And I called my mom, and when she heard the news, she just shook her head. She said, And when she got me, I said, I told you I was going to be a graffiti artist. She said, now, you know you're going to have to tell your father. And that's something I didn't want to do. I didn't want my father being disappointed with me. So I wanted to whoop him. But my punishment was to tell my father. And that was pretty much it. And that following week, like the next day, when people saw that piece, it kind of cemented my position at Kirk. I was at Kirk because I had transitioned from predominantly white schools. And when my parents got divorced and couldn't afford to keep me in private schools and Catholic schools, I transitioned into the worst public schools. So I hadn't had any fights or anything, so I had to kind of find my position. So doing that piece, that set the tone. They were like, "Oh, who's this guy? Skyline. Did you see that Sky?" And the rest is pretty much history. I got in good with all the thugs and hip hop dancers. I would do their jackets and things. 'Cause I figure if I'm cool with the ones who make trouble, they're not gonna make trouble with me. And that's how I survived through junior high and high school. The only fight I ever had was with my best friend, and that was it. But that graffiti and my art got me through high school and junior high.
Okay, so you've pretty much answered the question about where you grew up. What was it that brought you to this idea that you wanted to be a graffiti artist?
Watching Beat Street.
Okay.
I always liked to draw, but when hip hop was when hip hop was being established, I mean, I think I was probably 12, 13 or 14 when I first heard Rapper's Delight. And it was new. See, now you can't tell kids anything about hip hop now. They don't, it was new. It was a whole new genre. There's never been anything that new since. And when Harry Belafonte took it upon himself to make that movie, which is a classic. I mean, Beat Street is a classic. I mean, it turned every young, energetic kid into either a breakdancer, graffiti artist, DJ, or MC. Those are the four elements of hip hop. So naturally, as a born artist, I took to graffiti, and I was a dancer. I pop locked. I didn't break dance. But I pop locked, waved, and all that. But my thing was graffiti, which is actually the oldest of the four elements, which started in the Hispanic community with gangs. That's where graffiti first originated.
So it would seem to follow in light of your history that it could be said that you're one of the godfathers of hip hop in Cleveland.
Oh yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. I'm not sure that folks are aware of those elements as you have stated. I mean, of course, the scholars of hip hop and folks who have studied it for so long are aware of that. But, you know, I can't even say most, but when a lot of people think of hip hop, they think solely of music and they don't really fully understand it as a culture.
Right. It's a culture. Hip hop is something you live, something you do. Like KRS-One said, something you live. Yeah.
Yeah. So in light of that, what are your thoughts about where hip hop is today?
I'm kind of with Nas. Hip hop is dead. I mean, it's dead in this country. Other countries maybe carry the torch a little bit, but hip hop was born out of necessity. That same necessity isn't here anymore. Back then, nobody had a pot to piss in. They rapped about things they wanted, not things they had. Like, so I want a Lincoln Continental and a sunroof Cadillac. They didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have that. So it was a way to verbalize your dreams and just a way of entertaining, make people happy. And then after that evolved, then it became competitive. Kool Moe Dee was the first one to really put some thoughtful lyrics together And that was sort of the birth of the MC, the creative MC. The first MCs, you had Busy Bee, just rap at a party. They would call it toasting. Comes from Jamaica. When the DJ would get on the mic, the DJ initially started off as the MC. And he would make announcements like, your mother's here at the door, you better come on, da-da-da-da-da, I'm singing this song, and you better hurry up because beat your butt, and da-da-da-da-da, yeah, guess what? The DJ would do that. And then pretty soon, people from the crowd say, hey, I got something I want to say on the mic. And then that was the birth of the MC. So the MC would come up, he had Busy Bee doing party raps. Then Kool Moe Dee came in, and he had some hard bars where he would start battling people. And so now it was a competitive thing, but it was never violent. And the lyrics were never violent. And I'm trying to think from there. Well, give me that question again. I might have gone off track.
Well, no, I think you are on track. And I think also just reflecting on the significance of Kool Moe Dee, he was one who felt it was necessary to display intelligence as an MC.
Yes.
I remember when the song "The Message" came out, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five.
That's still the coldest rap song ever.
Yeah. It really got our attention because they were really using the art to describe what was going on, the reality of being black in America. And then somehow along the way, the music took a turn when they pushed back against people being intelligent on the record because they didn't want black young people to rise up across the country.
Exactly. Once they saw the influence of hip hop, the medallions, the Black Power, the struggle movement, all that positive, motivated stuff, they should have. Because if they start planning with this type of attitude and movement, we're in trouble. So that's when they had to introduce gangster rap. They had to change the genre. And then companies would only produce gangster rap. And that was, hip hop was born out of the Reagan era. When Reagan took away all of the extracurricular activities out of the schools, there was nothing for kids to do. There was no places for kids to go. They couldn't go to galleries, couldn't go to parks. So they had to make up their own type of entertainment. And that's what spawned hip hop, a necessity to want to have your stuff seen. Hey, you can't get in galleries? I'm going to use this train. Hey, I can't get on Broadway, so I'm going to break dance on this cardboard. Hey, I can't sing at the opera, but I get on this mic. But now they're giving all these rappers all this money, these bonuses, not bonuses, but the signing bonuses, advances, and they end up paying it right back. They end up having to pay it right. They don't understand what the process is. That money is to pay for your other albums. And see, they spend it on other stuff, and now they're rapping about shit that they got with that advance. But then if they don't continue to produce, then they owe the record company, and 2 years later, they're nobody. Not to mention, there are very few individual styles now. There's a few out there, but back when we were coming up, you knew who everybody was because everybody sounded different.
You really struck the nail on the head right there, because right now it just seems like everybody is in a competition to sound the same. And I want to talk to you a bit more about the music genre, but I want to get back to graffiti because there's something that's a burning question that I got to ask you. So I'm going to ask you when we get back. You're listening to Open Door with Vince Robinson on 95.9 FM WOVU, Burton Belcar Community Radio. My guest is Sky Davison. He's an artist among other things, and we'll talk about the other things too when we get back. We'll be back in just a moment.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Helen Maynard, news editor at Signal Cleveland, and you're listening to 95.9 FM WOVU, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Welcome back to Open Door with Vince Robinson and my conversation with Sky Davison, who was just describing some of the turns that hip hop has taken. I want to go back to you being the graffiti artist, and you clearly established that it is one of the four pillars of hip hop. One thing that has always amazed me is, first of all, that artists can install their artwork in some of the oddest places, some of the most out of the way places. And you talked about being up early in the morning and thinking that the bus drivers were just going by and they weren't going to bother you. And then the popo showed up a little bit later.
Right.
But how do they get themselves in position to put up that kind of art?
Well, you have different type of graffiti artists. There are different types of graffiti artists and art. The basics are tagging. Everybody is familiar with tagging. You see that everywhere. Tagging is your signature, your graffiti signature. There is an art to tagging. Other artists can usually tell the depths of someone's style by their tag. Then you have throw-ups. See a lot of throw-ups and a lot of tags. Throw-ups are just what they say, letters that are easily thrown up. Usually bubble letters or block letters. There's a style in the bubble letters, a throw-up style that you do that's an art in and of itself. You see a lot of that here. I see a lot of throw-ups, and some of them are pretty good. But those same artists that you see do tags and throw-ups, most of them you never see any real pieces. Now, a piece with full color, characters, everything, when you do a piece, like I did this, like it's called bombing. I said, yeah, man, I'm going out tonight, man. We're gonna do some bombing. That means we're going to do a wall, a train, a bridge, or whatever. We're bombing. We're doing pieces. That's a whole piece. Then you have productions. Productions are paid. Well, you got all the time in the world. Somebody's paying you. You're not running from anybody. Now you have purists who believe that those who get more production pieces or who just get production pieces aren't truly graffiti artists. They're street artists. A lot of purists consider the art of graffiti as being illegal. Some are so pure as in they still steal their paint. Back in the day, it's called racking. You go in with a big coat, big pants. I knew guys who come out with like 25 cans in their coat. And so some people still rack their paint. Then you have nozzles. Man, I don't even know how many different nozzles. You can make nozzles. There's probably 15, 20 different nozzles that do anything you want to do with a spray can. Now, when I started, they just had regular spray can, not designed for the graffiti artist. Your basic labels were Red Devil, Krylon, Wet Look, Rust-Oleum, and maybe some other off brands. But that was all you had to choose from, and you'd have to exchange the nozzle sometimes with a Lysol can, an Easy Off can, WD-40 can with that straw. You take two nozzles, put them together, and shoot them. You put one can, you boil it, get it hot. Another one, you freeze it, get it cold. And the pressure difference causes one paint to go into the other can. So that's how you had to mix your paint. Because back in the day, you only had maybe 15, 20 colors to choose from. So that was how you ad-libbed or made up for it. But then as time went on, companies started creating custom paint for graffiti artists. And those brands, I don't have many of them. They're expensive, but you got Molotov. I can't even remember. It's been so long. I haven't painted since the new ones have come out. But they're really good. They're low pressure. The old cans had high pressure, so you had to move really fast to avoid drips. And drips are a no-no. If you do a piece and the paint runs, that's a no-no. Now, if you draw drips in your piece, that's okay. But now you got cans, and I got one friend. he's a straight purist. He's like, he sees pieces like, yeah, but can they do that with regular factory caps? Okay, yeah, maybe not, but the piece still looks good. You know, they're moving with the advance of the industry. The paint now is and you got the colors are endless. You could probably from Molotov get maybe 10 different colors of red. In fact, one of my partners in my crew is called 3A, always armed with aerosol. He's sponsored by Molotov. They send him paint for free and gave him his own color. He's got a color called Guess Black Cherry. His graffiti name is Guesser, Geser, or he'll write Guess. But Molotov got a can of paint color named after him. I'm hoping I can get represented one day by a paint company. But then you have artists who do what's called heaven spots. I'm going to do a heaven spot one day. Heaven spots are those spots you see when you're driving that are so high up or on a bridge overpass, you wonder, how the hell did they get up there? Well, there are plenty of ways you can get up there. If you're a climber, a mountain climber, you know, you get ropes, ladders, tree branch, anything. But they call it heaven spots because it's dangerous. And if you fall and you die, that's where you hope you're going, to heaven. And I knew of one guy who was doing a heaven spot, slipped and fell from the bridge overpass onto the train tracks, broke his leg, train came and ran him over. So you got to be careful with doing heaven spots. Then you have wheat paste. I'm going to start doing wheat paste. That's another tool of the graffiti artist. Shepard Fairey, you might know him for that Obama, Yes We Can, red, white, and blue and light blue thing that's in the Smithsonian now. Shepard Fairey does that Andre the Giant figure. He's world renowned. Like I say, he's in the Smithsonian. He never worked with spray paint. He only did wheat paste. And that's just where you take a regular paper, usually a printout that's big, you get somewhere, and you make a mixture of water and glue. And you go up to a wall with a brush and just slap it on the wall and then put your piece, the paper, on that and then slap it some more. And that's your wheat paste. And then, of course, every graffiti artist must have a cache of stickers that he goes and he puts in different places to let people know he's been there. So the graffiti artist has a whole arsenal of things to mark his spot. And one thing with the graffiti artist, the main objective is not to get rich or to get paid, but to get worldwide. That's the goal of a graffiti artist, to have his name known around the world. And that's it. To go somewhere, to be able to say, I bombed a building in Kilimanjaro somewhere, you know, you get props for that. So, and a lot of graffiti art, not a lot, but some I know have transitioned into tattooing, like I did. And there are 2 books out called Graffiti Tattoo, Volume 1 and Volume 2. I'm in Volume 2. I'm the only black guy in Volume 2. But there's people from around the world, and their work is sick. It's sick.
Well, you know, it's interesting because you've really given us a great education on the art of graffiti in a way that I have never heard before, and I appreciate the explanation. And what you just mentioned was a segue into my next thought, and that was, when did you make the transition from the public art that you were doing as a graffiti artist to, let's say, the private art that you would do as a tattoo artist?
Well, like I said, I started at 14, and I didn't do as many pieces as a lot of people today have done. But I was second generation graffiti artist. First generation are like the king, like the one who every graffiti artist asks about is Ranger. Ranger was like the first one we all heard of. Then you had Nomad, He was in a class at the institute with me one time. Nightcrawler. I was working a summer job at Wade Park School near Collinwood, and him and his crew were gonna beat me up until they found out I was a graffiti artist, and then we got cool. Sire, I met Sire. I can't think of any more. Probably a couple others, but then came me and a couple people on the west side who still draw now. Danny Rodriguez is one of the baddest illustrators. He used to draw for Mark, and he drew for Namin. He drew a couple pieces for Namin. He was the one to beat when I was coming up. Everybody knew about Danny and Cisco. I'm gonna probably see Cisco this week. So they were on the west side. So Danny was always sick with the characters. He's still the coldest with the characters. And Cisco was good with the letters. So after me, the next generation was doing everything funky. DEF. That was Sano, Twig, Roel, Presto, Task. A lot of these guys. And there used to be a spot. See, there was no social media back then. We talked like the 80s, 90s maybe, 80s, let's say. There was a place called Downtown Records on Prospect before Prospect was all glorified with the hotels and all the shop. That was where you would go to get your nunchucks from the Chinese store, get your shell toe Adidas and your suede Clyde Pumas, your records and CDs. And they had this board. They had a pinup board where you, if you were a graffiti artist, you could pin your work on the wall. And when people come in, they see it. So writers, and that's what we call each other. We don't call each other graffiti artists. We call each other writers. We're writers. So writers would come in and we'd see, oh, that's sweet. Who did that? Oh, that's cold. Oh, who is that? Oh, no, no. So I saw, and I looked, and I'm like, damn, this dude is cold. And so I wrote on his piece. I wrote my number. And it was Sano. And that's how I met Sano. So when I went to school, the Cleveland Institute of Art, I put the graffiti down and focused on, because I wasn't as good as I wanted to be. Excuse me, I had to quench my thirst.
Okay.
The guy that taught me or influenced me, there were two. One guy named Roger Phillips. He was in East Cleveland. His graffiti name was Too Crazy, or he write it in French, Dafu. He taught me how to do characters and letters. But the one guy who's still one of the sickest artists not anymore, a guy named Ivan Wheeler. His name was Pose. He could take a pen and do wild style with a pen. Now, wild style is a type of drawing where you really can't read the letters. It's literally a wild style. It takes a lot of thought, concentration, and erasing. But Pose, because I had a jean jacket I did one time, and I asked him, I said, could you do me some letters? Do my name right quick. And I handed him my piece book to do it in the book. He said, is this the jacket? I had it on. I said, yeah. He said, turn around. He took a magic marker, a Sharpie, on my jacket that I had just drawn, everything else but the words, and drew my name in Sharpie on the back. I was like, damn.
Wow.
My good. I was like, this boy is cold. I'm just now, listen to me, Vince, I'm just now, this year, that good.
Okay.
I want where I can do it without erasing with a pen or anything. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to bring you a point about the value of artists in the community that you described when we get back. You're listening to Open Door with Vince Robinson on 95.9 FM. I'm having a conversation with Sky Davison. We'll be right back, right here on Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Hi, this is April Urban from Signal Cleveland, and you're listening to WOVU 95.9 FM, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Welcome back to Open Door and my conversation with artist Sky Davison. You know, Sky, you talked about the work that was up in various places in the community of artists, and it kind of struck me that what you guys did was you kind of broke through the barriers that exist for artists. As artists in this community, there's a certain level of elitism that exists. And as a result, many artists are on the outside looking in when it comes to their work being displayed. You know, exhibitions, they're scheduled sometimes a year, 2 years in advance. Not everybody gets the privilege of showing their art, but you guys kind of worked around that just by putting it up. And in the process, I think you also created a lane for yourself that can't really be disputed. When you talk about the sophistication and the methodology of the work, well, definitely it's a genre of its own. But again, this is just an amazing education about graffiti. You also talked about transitioning from being primarily a writer, as you said, into doing other kinds of things, and you mentioned artwork. You just mentioned the brother who did something amazing with your jacket. I'm just reflecting on my exposure to your art, and my exposure to your art came, well down the line. I don't know if you remember, but you actually did a workup for a book cover that I was contemplating. Do you remember that? Yeah, you did some artwork for me because I had written a book and I was looking for some cover art, and you sent me some images, and believe it or not, I still have 2 T-shirts. Really? T-shirts.
Get out.
as a matter of fact, I just washed it last week. I have a couple of your T-shirts. I'm not as big as I used to be. So, I don't know about the fit right now, but the artwork is eternal. So I want to thank you, first of all, for the work that you did on the project. And then secondly, I'm just happy to have your artwork that, that I can treasure and hang on to for a while. I'm also remembering a show that you did at Robin's Nest. And I think it was a New Year's Eve show or somewhere around there. I don't know if you remember that. But you are a poet as well as being an artist. And I think you also have a musician aspect to yourself. I could be wrong about that, but my recollection is that you're also a musician. But that show is one of the shows that stands out more than any of the other shows that we did, because you didn't just do poetry. You came in and you had these, I think you had these brown paper bags, and you had things in the bags that was related. And then you designed the flyer.
Yeah. I remember that now. Right.
Yeah. What do you remember about that?
Well, I like to make the show. Whenever I have a show, I like to make it a crowd participation activity. And then, of course, try to do something different. Of course, everybody wants to do something different. But I definitely like the crowd participation thing. And then, of course, being a designer, I'm going to do my own flyer. I'm going to do my own flyer and everything. Like I would do the flyers for Spy when they would have sets of Spy. I still have my collection of those flyers. And I look back at that like, man, I was on one back in the day, boy. But I'm trying to remember. I think I still remember those poems. Yeah. I'm hoping to have a show again soon. Some more poetry. I got some new stuff, and in my old stuff, because I haven't spit that much. I don't really spit that much anymore. But Yeah, tell me about that show. How was what else happened in that show? It's been so long. Was it good?
Yeah, it was phenomenal, but with all due respect, bruh, it was probably like 2001, 2002. So
Right.
it was a whole 2 decades ago.
Yeah, that was so long ago.
Yeah, I just remember how special it was, man. I mean, that
Mm,
was
mm.
those are the early days of the jazz poets. This
Yeah,
was
those were the days,
Yeah,
boy.
this is during the Kevin Conwell era when Kevin Conwell, now Councilman Conwell, was my drummer, and Derek James was playing bass, and then I had different people sitting in playing guitar like Kwame Nyamyeche and Orville Oliver and a few other musicians that sat in, and then of course there were the Thomas Sayers Ellis years.
Right.
Thomas used to sit in on our sets and he would heckle.
Yeah, that's Thomas.
Yeah, it was Thomas, and then Adam Banks was in the audience. And Adam wasn't a heckler, but Thomas would be popping off every once in a while, and then he ended up being part of the Jazz Poets, and we used to do rehearsals because he had an apartment. It was a loft apartment that was in the same building as Robin's Nest.
Oh,
Yeah, but
that's right. That's right. He did. I remember that.
yeah. And then he moved over to Cleveland Heights. I think he was on Euclid Heights Boulevard, and he used to have James Baldwin's mama's house.
Right, James Baldwin's mama's house. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. Those were the days, man. They were really the days. It was the early days. I was really just figuring out how to do what I was doing, and so much has happened since then, and I'm really happy about the growth on my end of things, and I'm sure since then you've grown significantly as an artist as well. How are things going in terms of the tattoo business?
It's very slow here. It's people don't have money here. People really don't have money. I mean, it's well, yeah. I'll leave it at that. I need to go after a different customer base. The customer base I pursued when I was doing tattoos kept me at a minimal financial level. All of my contemporaries, like I mentioned, Twig, who was an artist back with doing everything funky, he's the one that started me in tattooing, but he went out to Vegas and he learned from the white boys. And now he's the first black on a tattoo reality show on Inked. He's been a guest judge on Ink Masters, and he's got a video now called Tattoo Redo on Netflix. That's all because of the customer base he pursues. Another tattoo artist told me, he said, brother, as long as you tattooing us, you just practicing. And I hated to hear that, but that's why I quit tattooing. Because he was right. And I hate to say it, but he was right. Every one of my friends who is in that tattoo superstar stratosphere doesn't doesn't have the same client base that I cater to. So on this go, when I start tattooing, I am pursuing a specific client base because this time I'd like to make some money. So it's not going real well now. I've been calling people just saying, look, let me just get my chops back and tattoo. Oh, man, well, I can't write. Okay. Cleveland, for me, has been a very tough town to break through in artistically. There's a lot of cliques. There's no money. There's grant money, but you got to be in one of those cliques and those people. But your average customer, you're not going to make a lot of money in the black community dealing with art. I mean, I'm just going to say it. From my experience here in Cleveland, you're not going to make any money dealing with black folk in art. Now, that may be different somewhere else. It may be different with someone else. But with me, my people have not taken care of me at all. And so I'm hoping that when I get on the road, I'm trying to get money now to get on the road to go see my daughter for Thanksgiving. But I can't get any money. So I have to use alternative means of raising money that have nothing to do with art, which saddens me because that's my greatest asset, my art. But I've learned to adapt in Cleveland, and I have to do other things to make money. So hopefully, once I can get over this hump and get grounded financially, I can travel. I can use social media and travel to different shops. I don't have to stay here. But right now, hell, I don't even have gas money. So yeah, I did meet with, I mentioned Presto as one of the generation of artists under me. He started tattooing of the local art street artists here. He was the first, the white dude. He was the first to start tattooing before any of us. I went over there yesterday and he tuned my machine, gave me a new machine. He's like a guru on this. So I'm gonna hang with him, get my machines right, learn how to tattoo, and go after my new client base so I can use some color. I don't have a lot of experience with color, obviously, because I've been tattooing brown paper bags. So I need to start being able to use color. I'm excited about doing tattooing again. I haven't been excited about it for a while. I stopped in 2012 or 13. And no, I came here. I worked for a little bit, for about maybe 2015, 2006. I stopped in 2016 because I was fed up with the money and what people wanted and just the whole attitude that we sometimes have about artwork. And we meaning black folk. They feel it's an attitude of, well, you draw anyway, why not just do it for free? Or, you know, it doesn't cost you anything to draw like that. Why do you have to charge so much? Or, you know, how much is this? Oh, it's a so-and-so. Oh, well, I'll get it from so-and-so for this amount. There's no education in the arts in this city that I've found, or at least not across the board. And it's not our fault. It's an economic thing because all black families aren't as fortunate as I was to have a mom that groomed me in the arts. She saw I liked to draw, so she put me in art classes when I was younger. All families can't afford that, to send their kids to Juilliard or to dance classes or to gymnastics classes or to art classes or to cooking classes, things that white people get to do to educate their children in the arts.
Yes. I want. Sorry for the interruption, but I want to amplify the point that you made about folks not understanding the value of art, because I really do think that folks need to be educated, and I'm going to explore that a little bit more when we get back. This is Open Door with Vince Robinson on 95.9 FM WOVU, Burton Bell Car Community Radio.
Hi, this is Tammy Payton, the CEO and founder of Pillars to Success Incorporated. You are listening to 95.9 FM WOVU, Our Voices United, Burton Bell Car Community Radio.
We're back for the final chapter of Open Door with Vince Robinson. My conversation is with artist Sky Davison, and we were talking about art and the value of art, and we're also talking about the necessary education. And I just want to make this point, particularly when it comes to visual artists. If you do a painting, you may spend 20, 30, 40 hours. You may spend days. You may spend months working on a piece. That's a lot of labor hours. And then you also have to consider the level of skill that enables you to bring that image to life. So when somebody asks you how much it costs and you say, oh, well, this piece is $5,000, and they get big eyes and say, what? You know, but I looked at a website, and it was about Cleveland artists, and it had these prominent artists, and of course, all of them, many of them were people that I had never heard of. As a matter of fact, I don't think I had heard of any of these artists. And then there were samples of their work, and I was looking at the prices, and I was thinking to myself, who pays that much for a piece of art? But then if you go to the school of Jay-Z, you understand that art is an investment. And those pieces are worth so much more sometimes than people are actually paying for them. So if they have an original piece by Sky Davison 20 or 30 years from now, that piece may be worth exponentially more than it is today. So actually the purchase of that artwork is an investment. It's not just you buying something because it's pretty. Your thoughts?
Right.
Yeah. It's like the photograph. You know, there's a photograph that I could take of a person with my phone, and they think, oh, well, it's just a picture you took with the phone. But what they're not realizing is that there's 40 years of experience looking at that phone, framing it right, making sure the light is right, you know, all the things that go into the art of photography. It's not just aiming a lens and snapping a button or putting your finger on the screen. There's a whole lot more to that, and they don't understand the value of that. And I think the fact that it's so easy to push that button and send it in a text message, it kind of, in a way, it's kind of devalued the art. I had somebody ask me the other day if I could take pictures, and I said, yeah, but they wanted instant pictures. And I said, well, I don't really do Polaroids, you know, and I just wonder, especially now, is there a place for Polaroid photography? Because, you know, you can get that image on your phone, and then you can save it to your phone, and then whenever you want to see it, you just refer to the file, and you don't have to go into a drawer. You don't have to look at something sitting on a mantle of a fireplace. You know, it's instantaneous. So much has changed in the world of art, but I just find it fascinating that we have these struggles with the value of art and the fact that artists are undervalued. But as I heard you describe all that goes into creating the art of graffiti, it's just amazing how complicated it is. So I think now I have a whole new level of respect for artists who travel in that lane, and a whole new appreciation for the revolutionary aspect of the art. Some people look at it as an intrusion, and you know, you got a mural that somebody has painted on a wall and then somebody tags it. I mean, to me, that's kind of poor taste. But, you know, I think that there's a certain level of morality involved in that as well. You also, if I'm not mistaken, are a graphic artist. Can you talk about your relationship to that genre?
Yeah, the whole graphic thing. I minored in graphics. Kind of came natural. I like letters, typography, layout. I was in commercial arts in high school, so we learned a lot about doing advertising, ads, things like that. So, and as you mentioned, I do my own flyers for my shows, for my company. And it's a nice little tool to have to promote yourself. So, and I love working with Photoshop. So you'll see some of my stuff posted. I'm revamping a lot of my old stuff until I can get another computer, start making some new stuff. But yeah, I would say more than anything, I'm a designer. That would be a title I would put. Not so much an artist, but a designer. Because I design different things. I solve problems. different things. It may not even be an actual product. It might be a course of action I might design. I might design a type of, there's this, when I had my company ideation, we came up with this process by which you could kind of organize your life, everything you need to do using these cards, and you put the cards in order and arrange them, and you have something to look at for the next year. It's a goal setting process that we invented. I'd like to teach that. So yeah, I'm more of a designer, all around designer that does graphic art, furniture design, graffiti, tattooing, calligraphy, illustration, sculpture. What else do I do? Interior design, product design, shoe design, makeup, body painting. So I do a number of things under that umbrella of designer.
You mentioned being away. So I'm taking from that there was a time when you left Cleveland and you came back. Can you talk about what took you away and what brought you back? Because I think you did mention what brought you back, but talk about your departure and your, I guess, re-arrival.
Well, once I got older, I wanted to get out of Cleveland. I hated Cleveland. I'm still not that crazy about it. But I wanted to go overseas. I wanted to go to Europe, live in Europe. I wanted to be as far away from Cleveland as I could. But I ended up getting the job in Connecticut. So I moved to Connecticut for almost 2 years. And that was the first time I had a manic break. And a lot of things had happened. At the time I was at the peak of the mania, I had been to a organization of black designers. It was a conference I would go to. And the president was David Rice. And I went there. It was unbelievable. Black designers from everywhere. And I was supposed to meet. No, I went to a couple, I think maybe one or two before the one I went to. No, let me back up. I went to one, met David Rice, met a lot of the designers there, came back, and was hyped. I was working my job in Connecticut. I loved that job at Anderson Design. That was where I got my second patent. Loved working there. I got a call out of the blue from Reebok. A guy named Rob Purvey called me and said, "Would you like to work for Reebok?" Well, I thought to myself, no. You asked why not? I wanted to work for Nike. That was my dream. At 11th grade, I knew in my mind I wanted to work for Nike. I wanted to be a shoe designer. Nike had the best slogan ever, still the best slogan. Just do it. I saw an ad in the left. Had Bojack in the back, and it listed all these things that people hesitate on doing. I said, ask for a raise, run that marathon, buy that tuxedo, exercise daily, all these lists of things all the way down, ask her out, all this stuff people hesitate on, and at the bottom it said, just do it. I said, wow. And then I thought of a concept for Nike that I still might sell to them. But I said, I'm going to Nike. Now let's fast forward. I'm working at Anderson, and Reebok calls. Reason I didn't want to work with Reebok, number one, I ain't like Reebok. Number two, Reebok got its start from sanctions in South Africa. And a Reebok, people don't realize, is in the deer family. That's what a Reebok is. It's like a deer. But yeah, off the backs of our people, Reebok got started. So like, no, I'm not real crazy about working for Reebok. But they asked me, said, will you be at the next Organization of Black Designers Conference? I'm like, yeah, sure will. I said, well, we'd like you to stop at our booth. I said, okay. So I went to the thing. They gave me a number, or gave me the name for the people to meet at the booth. I went there, and when I saw the booth and saw the drawings, this guy, E. Scott Morris, that was his name, E. Scott Morris. When I saw those drawings of Rebecca Lobo, I don't know if you remember Rebecca Lobo. She was a star
basketball player.
Basketball for Connecticut. Back in the 90s, early 90s, she was a contender. So he had this illustration of her dribbling the ball on this, looked like matrix floor. I'm like, wow. I said, okay, I might could work. Okay. So I met him, and he was a cool brother. He wasn't a new. He was a black man. So I said, okay, that's cool. I can work. I might could do this. So when they saw my portfolio, then they treated me like royalty. The manufacturers from Japan, they took us all out to dinner. Sake, eating stuff I can't pronounce, it doesn't even look right. And hope I had the honor of manufacturing your shoe. And I'm like, wow, this dude, the manufacturer, owner, looks at me and says, I can't wait till you have a shoe I can design. So I'm hyped. I'm thinking everything I want in life is about to unfold for me right now. So it's funny, on a side note, the guy who I went with, who's in my company, we got a room together, but he's got little homophobic tendencies. There was 4 of us, 2 king-size bed, and he wouldn't let me sleep in the king-size bed. I had to sleep out in the hall by the elevator. So when the guys from heard this, they were like, what? Really, man? You come stay in the executive suite with us. So I'm like, cool. Now, I didn't realize they do have that nigga side to them, too.
Mm-hmm.
So they told me, want us to talk to him? And I said, you mean talk to him? They said, yeah. I said, nah. I'm like, okay, I'm with some professional thugs. So they was go deal with Brady. Brady was an a-hole anyway. But aside from that, so I went back to Connecticut.
30 seconds.
Told my boss, had an interview. But the other thing, my mom was sick. Had drug failure.
Okay.
And the decision between taking that job, staying at Anderson, or going home. My boss said, if it's a matter of you taking care of your mom, if you need to take time off to go home, you can come back. If you need more money, they wanted me. We'll give you more money. One of the bosses did something I didn't like. The way he was talking to one of the other employees and the way I just didn't like it. And I said, you know what? I called my best friend and I said, Jeff, no. What, we got 10 seconds?
Yeah.
They offered me a job at Reebok. But then, after they had seen me and put me through all that, the guy, he said, we'll give you a chance. I'm like, give me a chance? No, I'm going to give y'all a chance. How about this? How about you go yourself? I'm going to Cleveland to take care of my mama. Nah, I mean?
Yeah.
That's what
Well, let's thank them for what they did to bring you back, because now we have you in Cleveland. And as one of the godfathers of hip hop, You deserve all the respect that you have coming your way. No Skyline Davison, that we're going to have you at Larchmere Arts, and you're going to be able to do your poetry, and we're going to put up your art as well. Thanks for joining me on the show today, and nothing but success for you in the future.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
All right. And to those who are listening, as always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make today your best day. Peace.
There it is. Peace.